Hello, Pet World, and welcome to another edition of Natural Pets TV. I'm Robert Semro, and I am joined by two experts in the natural pet world, Greg Tilford and Bill Bookout. Bill, I know over at the National Animal Supplement Council, you must get this question all the time. I get it. What's the best supplement out there? What's the best? What's the best? What's the right? How do you respond?
Yeah, we do get it all the time. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here. As far as the best product, everybody's got the best product, right? Every company has the best product. I think that's really the wrong question that the pet owner should be asking. You want to ask quality first. You want to give a quality product because not every animal is going to respond to every single product. Like we get, for example, my animal didn't respond to this particular joint product. You can't say that they didn't respond to the ingredients in that product, for example. All you can say is they didn't respond to that product. But I think first and foremost, the pet owner should be concerned with, you want to choose a quality product because that's going to give the best opportunity to get the benefit that you want.
Yeah, and I know you've got to get this all the time.
I do, yeah. And you know, the question, what constitutes quality and what will satisfy the customer's curiosity, and how do they select these products? And there's a lot to take into consideration. You know, trust and credibility is built with the relationship between the consumer and the company, of course. But you know, transparency is very important. You know, manufacturer that you're buying from should be transparent about everything they do. You know, I'm not saying that they have to give away their proprietary formulas and sources, but they should be able to pick up the phone, answer questions, and say, hey, yeah, this is where we get our products. This is our quality control system. This is what we follow. You know, we're members of the NASC, which has very rigorous, you know, audit requirements and inspection requirements. And really, in my mind, what NASC's done in terms of bringing up the credibility and holding people accountable within the industry, it's better than anything I've ever seen. I mean, I think the human supplements industry needs it, and they're way behind, you know, and I think even the drug industry is behind what NASC is doing. So
yeah, it's a great point because you really are trailblazing in what you're doing.
Yeah, we are, and we're very proud of our accomplishments. And so we represent, first of all, we're a nonprofit, so we don't sell anything. Our objective is to have industry-developed, industry-implemented, industry-defined quality systems that create responsible conduct and differentiation. At the end of the day, our collective goal is to make a difference through the products that our members provide, the difference in the lives of millions of animals across this country and around the world every single day. That's our objective. I think another important question, in addition to quality, is who formulated the product? Do they have knowledge and expertise in animal anatomy, physiology, metabolism? So I think it's very important that you not only ask quality questions, you said, Greg, I tell people, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call the company. And here's another thing, you know, people call me all the time on the phone, and CGMPs, that's an acronym that people throw around. And sometimes it's thrown around pretty loosely. What that stands for is Current Good Manufacturing Practice Standards. People tell me, well, we comply with CGMPs. The very next question someone ought to ask is, which standards do you comply with? If you don't know the standards that a company complies with, it really tells you nothing. We're CGMP compliant, and usually on the other end of the phone you get, they don't know, right? They throw it around because it's a marketing buzz thing. Now at NASC, we have developed CGMPs, our own good manufacturing practice standards that are very thorough and comprehensive as one component of the quality audit process.
Yeah, well, and I like the discussion too about the supply chain, because you and I have had the discussion before.
Absolutely.
Of responsibly sourced is just as important as anything else. Well, I mean, we've talked about it previously. We're taking from the earth, we need to be giving back as well.
absolutely. I mean, there's sustainability issues, but there's, you know, which is a big component of what I'm trying to project in my efforts, is that, you know, you've got to have quality coming in, and the quality begins on the field where it's grown and the purity of what is coming in. And right now, as it stands, the requirements and the accountability of quality ingredients going into a product rests firmly on the shoulders of the manufacturers of that product. And if that manufacturer is not aware of the sourcing, the supply chain, where those ingredients are coming from, how they're handled, what happens before they even get into the manufacturing facility, which is key, especially when you start talking about feeds and foods. I mean, there is no requirement, for instance, for imported ingredients companies from outside the United States, anywhere, to disclose what goes into that ingredient before it's shipped. You know, it could be
Right.
adulterated with something we don't know about.
Yep.
So the requirement to identify the purity of that rests on the shoulders of the manufacturer. It's our responsibility. You know, a good example, here's my perspective on what happened in 2007, I believe it was, with the melamine issue, when lots of dogs died as a result of melamine adulteration. And what melamine is it's basically the same stuff that you make white marker boards out of, ground up into powder. And what it does is it creates a false positive reading for protein levels. So you can boost the protein analysis in foods and such with this basic plastic ingredient that can bind with other chemicals and cause a very toxic reaction. So when that happened, the immediate response was everyone pointed fingers to China at the source. But what really angered me and embarrassed me as a manufacturer and a formulator of really quality products is that we missed it. The test, the baseline test for melamine as an adulterant pre-existed that in the United States for many years, and the importer and the supply chain and the manufacturers that distributed those products didn't catch it. And it's not an expensive test. So personally me, and I believe I can speak for most of, if not all of the NASC companies, which represents what, 90% of the
90% of the industry.
Of the industry.
By sales, consumer purchase.
You know, it's up to us first, and you know, I'm going to be held accountable, and I'm happy to be.
Let me give a couple points about the supply chain, and that is important. Unless you, it seems intuitive, right? But people just don't stop and think about it. You see a product on the shelf, or you see a product on, you know, add to your shopping cart, and you assume that's a quality product, right?
Sure.
Quality is assumed. That's not always the case. So let me explain in the intuitive part. Unless you start with quality raw materials, combined by quality repeatable processes, that gives you a consistent repeatable outcome. So let me give a little example to the viewers about if I want to eat a chocolate chip cookie. If I don't have chocolate chips that are sweet, if they're bitter chocolate, if the raw materials or ingredients in that chocolate chip cookie are not consistent quality, if my oven bakes at the wrong temperature, I'm not going to have a consistent repeatable cookie, right? Well, it's the same way with supplements. Unless you have a known quality raw material, quality, purity, strength, potency, tested for heavy metals or other contaminants like Salmonella, E. coli, a micropanel, that raw material needs to be verified. And then the processes need to be verified and checked. And it's a continuous cycle. Greg, you mentioned the melamine thing. Very tragic event. It was intentional economic adulteration. But nobody was looking for melamine at that point. Now there are tests so it's a continuous cycle because we always know more tomorrow than we know today. So, and that's what we embrace and engage in at NASC. It's a process of continuous improvement, and that's what really makes a quality product.
And what impresses me most, I think, about NASC along those lines is, yeah, we had to react to a situation with the melamine issue. But I see a very proactive organization now. I mean, the organization is actually embracing and basically mandating the same processes as the human supplements industry in advance of the legal requirement to do so. So we're working proactively to create quality products, and it really comes from, Bill is like, it's in his heart. He's not just doing this for fun. He's not just doing it for money. I mean, he loves animals and he cares deeply about animal wellness, and that's where it all comes from, and that's where the proactivity comes from. And, thanks for doing that.
And I got into this business because I was a guy, my dog was diagnosed with cancer, and I had another dog with hip dysplasia, and I came from the human medical device and drug industry. I'm a business guy. And I had very few options with my own dog, and I was looking for an option to help my dog live longer. And I started by somebody that was I'm just trying to help my dog. And so that's why this is so personal to me, and I'm so passionate about the cause.
Well, I think that's the story for so many of us these days. But I don't want to let this go, because one of the other big questions, and you kind of touched on it, and I'm sure you have something you want to add to the discussion as well on this, is I hear a lot of people painting, if it's from this country or that country, it's no good.
Yeah.
Address that for a second.
Well, primarily what we're talking about is, there's a general phobia about any Chinese or Indian ingredients right now.
Right.
You walk through even the trade shows, the wholesale trade shows, and you could fire a cannon through the international, pavilion,
yeah.
and there's nobody there. But the truth is there's bad ingredients and there's good ingredients, and they come from all over the world, including within the United States.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where they come from. What matters is the level of scrutiny and analytic that happens for each ingredient, the
Yeah.
accountability to the source. It doesn't matter if it comes from Tibet or mainland China
Yeah.
or from Kentucky, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
You've still got to do the same quality control standards. You have to be accountable to the source. You have to verify what it is, identify what it is. And as an herb, I mean, it's amazing how many herbs get imported into the United States or even grown in the United States that are either adulterated with something else or even the incorrect herb.
Yeah.
They're not even the same plant that they're marketing. Right. So it's really the responsibility of people like me and other manufacturers that care about what they're doing, and the NASC's membership, and to be accountable to that. And it doesn't matter where it comes from.
Yeah, a couple additional points I would make, or things that I would add, is there's a couple things that people think that are not true. Anything that comes from China or India or offshore is bad, and anything that comes from the US is good. Neither are true. There is no substitute for qualifying, knowing, and having trust and faith in your supply chain. You can get bad quality raw materials in the United States, just like you can get bad quality raw materials in other countries. You have to verify your supply chain, your processes, which manufacture and put those constituents together to get a final outcome, which is the product that somebody sees on the shelf. The other 2 points that I would add, and I say, these 2 things you can take to the bank. Cheap products are usually cheap for a reason, and companies that make claims that sound too good to be true probably are. There are no magic bullets. So I would encourage the viewers to really consider that.
Well, and I think that takes us all back to bio-individuality, something that I talk about a lot. As you started off by saying, what works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. We've got to be aware of all these different things, and this was a great discussion, so thank you both, and thank all of you for joining us here on Natural Pets TV. Financial and other considerations have been provided by Animal Essentials, Natura Pets Organics, the National Animal Supplement Council, and the Well Dog Place. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us, and let's keep the conversation going. We want to know what's impacting your pets and the things that you're interested in finding out more about. Put that in the comment section down below. And in the meantime, if you want to find out more information about Greg Tilford, visit theanimalherbalist.com or animalessentials.com, or our good friend Bill Bookout from the NASC. You can go to nasc.cc or visit animalsupplements.org. And as always, you can reach out to us directly at petworldinsider.com.